Hi, John. Hey, John. Excuse me. Excuse me. How's the sound and video? Everything okay? Great. Okay. Hi, John. I was thinking, excuse me, this brand and the watchmaker sort of started in a right around 2000. And then I think it was around 2018 that Marco Lang left. And it was sort of like in a very short, relatively short period of time, something like that can happen, and a whole new company called Marco Lang Watches came out of that. And I'm really curious to see what other kinds of things can happen from the point of view of the watch collector that happen very quickly, and then they change again. And this is uh, this is going to be interesting. FP Jorn and Kari Voutilainen and a lot of these guys who started right around 2000, are they going to be supplanted by people who are young guys coming up right now, like who is it, Bedat and somebody else? I forgot. A couple guys. There's another French kid who does fantastic work, and that's going to be interesting to see where that goes as well. Um, One of the things that I thought about after we talked this morning, hey Brian, how you doing? Um, is the fact that Kari Voutilainen had bought Urban Jurgensen. Now here's somebody who is primarily known as an independent watchmaker, but he also has expanded his businesses. I mean, he's a pretty sharp business guy. So now he and some other investors bought Urban Jurgensen. They have the ones who made the case for our watch was Wooten Lannon and Caton. Caton, the whole Caton family goes way back as far as case makers are concerned. And so it's sort of this, certain things are coming up. It's the end of the baby boomers will change dramatically offer and demand. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell about the baby boomers. um, I'm not a baby boomer, by the way. I'm a pre-baby boomer. That makes me a war baby. So, um, yeah, I the most of the baby boomers, I think, right now are in retirement, are going into retirement if they're not already. Because I think baby boomers were from like 1946 to I don't know when. After that, but most of them are heading for retirement, and I don't know what they may be doing a lot, having a lot of effect. Perhaps not having anything to do with watches, but other kinds of things as well. Uh, Anyhow, well, let's get some ideas. Brian, what do you think? Hi, Tim. 1963, from what I remember. Okay. 46 to 64, is that it? Okay. Boy, well, that's a long period. How long is that? It's about, see, 20, Oh, that's only 18 years. Yeah, okay, 18 years. That makes sense. Or is it 38? Did I get it wrong? No, I don't think it's 38, is it? It's only 28 years. Or they do my math wrong. In fact, no, it's only 18 years. It's only 18 years from 64 to 46. No, come on, you forgot to let me get my calculator out. Hang on. It should only be 18 years. It seems longer. See, 1940. No. Clear. 1964. 64 minus 1946. Yep, it's only 18 years, guys. Hi, Velvia, man. Velvia, man, the baby boomers will be 6 meters under, possibly. Some of them will be. Some of them already are. My God, it seems that a lot of people lately, a lot of some of these rock stars, they just keep on going. I think the only ones left are going to be Keith Richards. The rest of them are going to be gone. Okay, well, anyway, forget the baby boomers. In terms of the watch business, yeah, I don't know. I guess FP Jorn and some of these other guys would be. I forgot to move the last 3 digits. Everybody does that. Yeah. Okay. Well, forget all that. Let's look at the like I said, forget the baby boomers. Let's see what what are some possibilities? And the reason I started off with mentioning Kari Voutilanen plus some investors have bought Urban Jurgensen. And Kari Voutilanen is a pretty astute businessman, it seems. Hey, Truman. So, so what must be looking over the horizon at something. He and his investors wouldn't be buying into Urban Jurgensen. Urban Jurgensen has fabulous watches. They really do. From a craftsman's point of view, and they have a history with people like Derek Pratt and I forgot the other guy's name. One of the sort of modern founder of it. And what do you think that he will be doing with this company? He told me in no uncertain terms it's not going to have silicon hairsprings. I'm sure he's speaking not only for himself but also for um, Urban Jurgensen. And what are the options? John, I think you're right. Maybe that's what he's doing is getting some top watchmakers together. A guy that I wish would I don't know if he's a very good businessman, but he's a great guy and a really fantastic watchmaker is Rolf Lang and Lang. And he had done some really amazing things. I think he built a minute repeater for Tutima, and he was dealing with some company. I think it was some Asian company, I believe. And he sent me some drawings of a watch that he was making. It was a woman's watch. and it was amazing. I mean, I looked at this thing; it was really beautiful. I mean, beautiful both from a how he was working the movement and how he was doing different things with it, but just like pop out comes a new movement. And there are some people like him. A lot of it, Rolf is getting a little long in the tooth. Uh, so I think the I think that the purpose is going to be sort of I don't want to call it a shelter, a bomb shelter, be a shelter for some of these other really good watchmakers and try to recruit them into Urban Jurgensen to continue making these really great watches. Okay, what are you guys gossiping for? Okay, the art of as you're right about that, Truman. So why is the rancher selling his UJ? Yes, John. Okay, that was yes to John, not to Truman. Um, I I don't know if maybe he'll come and he can explain it, what's going on. Uh, I I don't know. He has got a fantastic Urban Jurgensen, a very good one. Uh, a one with a platinum one, fantastic. I don't know. It just maybe for whatever reason, but it's a neat watch. Okie doke. So let's look at some possibilities. Okay, so that's one thing. That's one of the few things we know. The other thing we know in terms of looking for the future, some watch companies like Patek Philippe and Swatch have gone with the silicon hairsprings. Um, what does that mean? Because I know that the sort of your top uh, watchmakers, the one who make these really great watches, they're not gonna touch that stuff. Now this includes the young guys, such what's his name? The guy in France and the Peterman and something or other, really young guys, but really talented. Hey, Bill, how's it going? Um, yeah, well, my advice is hang on to the original Urban Jurgensens. Now my beard is sort of taken off and going where it wants. Okay, so let's get some other ideas of where things may be going with the watch industry. I This last year, the 2022 watches that came out, there I can't think of anything that says, "Hey, that's new. I've never heard of that before." I could have missed something. So, what do you guys think would be, let's say, if you look at the 2022, what was new that was interesting? The most interesting kinds of things I saw were older models done with companies like H. Moser when they came out with their Heritage series, which I just love, by the way. But it's sort of like it's not getting something new that's old. It's getting something that is like a continuation of a certain tradition. That's what I like about it. Hi, Mark. How you doing? Uh, let's see. Silicon are the new electric car. I don't think so. To tell you the truth. Um, Here's the thing with silicon. There's nothing wrong with silicon, and they make great hairsprings and the investment that Swatch and Patek Philippe and Rolex together put in to develop that. But I think once developed, silicon comes out in sheets, whereas hairsprings are very hard to make, extremely hard. In fact, that's one of the few things, and he makes everything else that Roger Smith doesn't make, nor did oh, what's his name, George Daniels. And it's something that a few companies do really well. Um, Beauvais developed one. Uh, H. Moser developed one. Parmigiani did, but they didn't develop it. They developed it through one of the sort of vertical companies owned by the Sandoz Family Foundation, and that's at uh, a maker, hairspring maker called Atocalpa. But from what I read somewhere that Atocalpa is thinking of also adding silicone hairspring to their line. So that may be a direction that more will go. Others, I think, wanting to keep traditional mechanical aren't going to go that way. Where else may they go in addition? Um, yeah, they got, once they see, this is the thing, John. Companies like Atocalpa are producing a huge number. I mean, like 200,000, something like that, hairsprings a year that they supply with all of a lot of different watch companies. So, oh wait, hang on a second. There we got I've got to get rid of the porno here. That just came up. Sorry, guys. Report. I'll go, bam, and get rid of it. It will be gone in a second. Okay. This is one of the new chores is getting rid of the porno. We must be important to have. At least they could have a commercial or something. Where is that come from? Hang on a second. Okay. Okay. They won't be coming back soon. Okay. Oh, one more. No. All right. Yeah. It's not watch porn. It's the other kind, Tim. Okay, where were we? Let's see. Uh am I the only person with a Victor Calabrese with an ETA 2892? Yes, you're the only person, football fan. No, actually, that, by the way, is in the second part of how to be a proper watch snob. That is one of the watches that comes up. Share my screen. Ah. No, it's not that, Mark. This maybe you guys can't see it, but I get these things that say show and hide on the list, and some of them are clearly porno, and so off they go. And they have an automatic thing that comes up. Like right now, here I'm going to bring this one up. Uh, Tim had mentioned watch porn. Well, watch porn refers to people like us who really like looking at watches. Um, on the other hand, the things that were invisible before was this other kind of porn. Anyway, uh, he used ETA. Yes, he did. Um, Calabrese used ETAs. I think he did his own. What was it called? The golden. That bridge, the Golden Bridge. He did that very interesting, brilliant movement that he did, that Calabrese did. But he and some other top watchmakers have used ETA as a base. And so that's another thing I think that is sort of an interesting thing. Where are they going to get their ETAs for, the upcoming thing? For years and years, the Swiss watch industry has sort of, they have all these different people doing little things, putting a watch together. I learned about that when we put our watch had our watch made by Agenor, and so in order to have all of the pieces, there are these specializations. Now, is that good or bad? In my opinion, it's very good, and here's why: because you got people who know what they're doing with a specific thing. For example, um, Beauvais did set up their own, not only movement making, but their own hairspring making, with something called Demier, which had been an existing entities that they sort of put together into what they call Demier as their movement making part of Beauvais. So this is something I think that is the problem is that watch companies don't want to tell the truth about it. And some collectors or some watch buyers are too dim to realize that because they don't do everything themselves, they can't be as good. That's not true. In fact, the opposite may be true. I would rather have a watch with a really good movement by a company like Agenor or by Vaucher than somebody who said, okay, well, we got to have our own movement and somehow cobble something together that's okay. Um, or either that they have the thing that I don't like, and I probably said this too many times, but I simply don't like it when you're paying for something and you don't know what the base movement is. If the base movement is an ETA, as long as I know what I'm paying for. My Chaumet has an ETA Elaborate or one of those in there, but the reason I bought it, it has the Agenor module with the Agonese gearing, and in fact, they have these two big Agonese gears that have this incredible movement of this Ferris wheel like wheel they have. On the other models, they have it actually acts as a second hand, but here it's just like something sort of fun to look at. So it's like this is something I think because there is so much, I'll call it deception, okay? There's so much in the whole industry. There are two reasons behind it. One, they don't want their customers to know. Okay, IWC has, I think I was looking at a watch they had called the Portofino the other day, and it had something like a movement called the 1355 or something like that in it. And I looked it up, and it was an ETA 29 or 28 something, uh, 24, and one of the most popular, commonly used ETA movements. Well, it can't be ETA for much longer because they don't sell them to IWC, so it'll be a Salida movement that replaces it. On the other hand, what is it called? There's a German watch called a Laco, I think is the name of it. And they, when you look at their watch, it says it's a LACO something something, and then below it it says ETA something something. Well, the LACO number and the ETA number are identical, but LACO lets you know what's in there, and this is something I think that I don't expect every little single nut and bolt in a watch to be saying, "Oh, this came from here and this came from there," but just quit saying we do everything, when all they're doing is maybe some assembly or something. I don't know. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. The Swiss have a lot of laws for to call a watch Swiss made, but they don't have any laws that say, "Hey, you got to give us full information. You have to have full disclosure on what kind of inside the case." Okay, what you got here? Yeah, you're right, John. That's exactly right. Hi, Junior. Hey, Brian. I say it seems to me that more and more resellers are also not saying what movements are in a watch. Uh, they only list them as mechanical or automatic. Yeah, that's I tell you the other thing too is that they'll have an ad. They'll say, "Oh, it's Swiss made." What does that mean? Whatever the laws and the movement is Swiss made. Of course, they can't. I wonder. If just let's say just a part of a movement is made in Switzerland and they get the rest from I don't know outer Mongolia, the do they can they still say it's Swiss made the movement? Now the whole watch you have to have certain percentage of it made in Switzerland. When we had our watch made, we had 100% made in Switzerland because we that was I don't know, just sort of keeping everything together. And also to the kind of quality we had asked for. But those kinds of things, I think, may be things to think about. I mean, is things that may come up. And Brian, you're right about what they list. Some companies like Joma Shop. I like Joma Shop because they if you go down you have if I think they have sort of a double layer of information about the watches they sell, and if you go to the lower layer they always have the base movement, and I like that. Sometimes they don't, but usually they do. Other companies, like Brian said, they have it, it's an automatic or something like that. um Trying to think now. The ones there's a certain code. For example, Omega has a code that it's Omega or Breitling, maybe it's Breitling, has a code so that if something has a certain B type movement, it's made by Breitling. Otherwise, it's a ETA Salida movement, and they don't have to do that. They can say, "Look, we have an ETA." The reason they use ETAs is simply less expensive. I don't know whether the ETAs are any lesser than the ones that Breitling makes, and especially since I don't trust any company that doesn't provide full disclosure, and I don't think that Breitling does. I wish they would. I'd have much more respect for them. I think they do have their movements that they made themselves. They had ones that they sort of co-authored with Tudor, and Tudor vice versa is the same kind of thing. So where is that going in the next 20 years? Uh, there's a lot of different places it can go. One of the things that makes it more difficult to be sort of less than fully disclosed is the internet. More and more people are realizing that if they want to find out what's inside of a watch, they can go to watchbase.com and pull out the whole the whole base. And what they'll have is that they'll have the name of that's given to the watch by the company, and then below, then if you click it, it'll say it's based on, and there it is. There's your ETA or Salida or some other thing. Yeah, the ETA. Yeah, the Portuguese and the Portofino are, the Portuguese should be the crowning glory of IWC, but because it's sort of based on the whole notion of the maritime chronometer, and this is something that'd be really great. And but again, they have some kind of other movement. By the way, too, let me say this: ETAs are not bad movements. They're inexpensive, relatively speaking, because they have the entire process is very efficient. And then you have different grades of ETA movements, and the highest grade is the COSC, and they're probably, I think, more and more of the modern ETAs from Swatch are going to have your silicon hairspring, and silicon hairsprings getting when once they have that, getting a COSC pass is very, very simple because of the characteristics of of silicon, just like quartz. I mean, well, they both use silicon, but in different ways. So, okay, let's see. A Rolls Royce with an engine built by Jeep. I think this Rolls Royce is a great example. Some years ago, I had a silver spur. Love that car, half a block long. It was one of those cars like a yacht. Happiest day is the day you buy it and the day you sell it, and that was my experience with it. Had a great time with it. But then afterwards, they came out with sort of after the whole Silver Spirit line, they came out with some weird ones, and then I think eventually, this was why they were still made in England by Rolls-Royce of England, and then they were sold to BMW, I think, and a whole bunch of stuff's going on. Now, I'm sure that BMW makes wonderful engines for Rolls-Royce, so I don't know, as long as there's good stuff in there, I don't care what who does it. And that's very true with watches. Um, for a long time, people would look at Hermes and say, "Oh, well, they're a fashion watch," but they've got their movement. They bought 25% of Voss. Sure, that's another thing. Possibly in the future, these um, fashion companies are really, really rich. I mean, they're loaded. Chanel, which the watches they've had come out with, I would absolutely love to have a watch with called the Chanel One movement because it was designed by I forgot it, Romain Gautier. I mean, it's like, this is another thing that's just stupid that they do. And Chanel did it too. Chanel was saying, "Well, we had this is an in-house movement, blah 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 blah, and we had our own guys and yak 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 yak." But then you read about it, and here's one of the top watchmakers in the world working on their movement, and there's somebody in the spin doctors don't give him credit. They should have put his name at the very top. The same thing is true also with well, sometimes I think some of them have been doing it more. They mentioned Vitarec because that sort of is like, well, that guarantees a really great movement. That's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Vitarec is retired now. Um, uh, Dufour is doing this one big last simplicity. I don't know what's going to happen to that. By the way, here's something else too that we might look at. Dufour's Philippe Dufour's daughter, Danielle. She is in. She's been to watchmaking school and has made watches with her dad, with Philippe. And both of the people that we worked with at Agenor were, um, who was it? Nicholas and Laurent Vitarek. And so that's another kind of thing, sort of getting into the tradition. F.P. Jorn's kids were not interested at all in watchmaking. They wanted to do something else. So anyway, okay. Hi, Tanzil. How you doing? Um, the famous Mini is a BMW. I didn't know that. Okay, guys. I, I my timekeeper is not here today. So it's my time is up. Anyway, yeah, Chanel owns 25% of FP Journe. That's um, that's something else too. This is something like I said, I think we may be seeing some of these really wealthy luxury companies. Louis Vuitton, there's another company, Kenner or somebody like that, that just divested themselves of, I think it's not Urban Jurgensen, but Ulysse Nardin and uh, somebody else. That's the stuff that we can take a look at in the future. Anyway, thanks guys for coming, and we'll do this again next week. Take care.